Alright, so today I want to get a weight on some of my biggest ball pythons here in my collection. As a matter of fact, I think I'll get a weight on Bobby around my neck here. This is Bobby, my bamboo ball python. Look at how big Bobby is. He is a really big male. And as a matter of fact, I got him a few years ago as an adult. He's about just a little over 1,000 grams at the time. I think he's like 1,200. He's probably twice that now. He is really big and beefy. And he really doesn't eat that much. He's 7 years old and his metabolism is pretty slow. As a matter of fact, he's kind of a picky eater. He doesn't really lose weight and he doesn't really eat that much. It's kind of amazing. And as a matter of fact, I actually have a female that when she was, right before she laid eggs, I got a weight on her. She was like 5,000 grams, which is pretty much the biggest ball python that I've ever seen. She is a monster. And it's been a couple of years since I weighed that one too, so it'll be interesting to see what her weight is now. So I'm going to just start pulling out some of my biggest ball pythons. Let's pull out the balance and take some weights on some of these snakes. Alright, so I'm going to start with Bobby. Look at how big Bobby is. He is a really big snake. I can't even believe how big he is for a male. Usually some of my females aren't even this big. You know, I'm still waiting on some of my females to get this big so I can actually breed them. Of course, a lot of my females aren't as old as Bobby here. He's a really awesome snake. And just look at the contrast on Bobby. He is a really high contrast bamboo, really bright and clean. Really kept a lot of his color and definition as he aged and matured. Really awesome. And kind of the interesting thing about Bobby is if you actually look at his head, he developed a lot of these spots on his head. It's kind of weird looking at kind of the top of his head. If I can actually get him up to the camera, he is really pretty hefty. He is a big boy. But look at the top. Oh, he's not going to let me do it. I wanted to show you the top of his head. Take a look at that. Look at the spots on the top of his head. Kind of interesting. I think I haven't really seen a lot of bamboos this old. As a matter of fact, if you go over to Morphmarket and you look at kind of the oldest bamboos, Bobby is the #1 oldest bamboo ever to appear on Morphmarket. Pretty amazing. And actually, you got my balance here, and I have this really big tub for these really big snakes. Let's see how this is actually going to work. If I can do this and see if I can zero it. There we go. Alright, let's see how much Bobby weighs in this big old tub here. If I could center him. He's coming in at, let's see, 2,598 grams. He is a really big snake. As a matter of fact, he's about half the size of some of my females, which is pretty amazing. So take a look at this big old girl. Look, she's balling up into like even bigger than a soccer ball. Look at how big that is. She is not very happy. She's going into a shed. She got really super blue and then she's kind of clearing up a little bit, but she's ready to shed. And this one I actually bred her this year. I thought she was going to go and then she started eating like crazy. She's eating... Oh, well, she's eaten the last couple weeks, so usually when they start eating again, it usually means they're not going to lay. Although I didn't ultrasound her because I figured she was eating, and usually, you know, when they go back on food, especially in the middle of the breeding season, it's pretty much a done deal as far as I've seen. I've yet to have a female go back on food in the middle of the season and then actually lay. But look at how big and round she is. She is a monster. She's like, she makes Bobby look like a small snake, which is pretty incredible. This one is the one that is the biggest one in my collection, and she actually weighed 5,000 grams one year. Look at how big she is. That is a big monster. I actually bought her over on Morphmarket. Believe it or not, I only paid $150 for this snake. It was quite a few years ago. She is 100% het caramel albino. Look at that beast of a snake. Let's see if I can see when she's coming in. I can't even see the... she's covering up the... Let's see, she's coming in at 4,473 grams. Alright, so here's another big female. Take a look at this girl. This is my pied female. As a matter of fact, we just did an ultrasound on her, and it looks like she has some eggs in her belly. It looks like maybe she's a month away from laying, so she'll probably be a little bit heavier. Usually when they start developing eggs, they get pretty heavy, but she is, look at that, how big that pied girl is. pretty amazing. I remember when I started in ball pythons, and for the life of me, I was actually looking for an adult pied female, and people hold on to these like gold. It's almost impossible to find something like this for sale. Most people hang on to them and never sell them. It is pretty crazy. So I'm gonna actually get a weight on this girl, bring up this big old tub over here, and we'll see if it's zero, and then we'll get a weight on her. I'm thinking maybe she's about the same size as Bobby, maybe a little bit bigger. Yeah, a little bit bigger than Bobby. She's coming in at 3,136 grams. That is a big pied. All right, so take a look at this girl. This is almost probably one of my biggest snakes. This is probably just under that biggest one. Look at how big she is. This is a lemon blast, which is the pastel and the pinstripe. This is believe it or not, this girl is 10 years old. Pretty amazing. She's laid some really big clutches for me. Look at how big she is. She is a monster. She's got to weigh, I don't know how much she weighs. She is super big, and it's kind of cool on this one. It seems like the pastel in this one is really super bright yellow. Look at how yellow the sides are on this one. Sometimes you can get different lines of pastels. Some of them are brighter than the other, and this one really held its color as an adult. She's kind of squirming around a little because I'm kind of struggling holding her, and she's really super head shy. I'm trying to hold her head so she doesn't go flying across the table here. So let's see if we can get a weight on this girl. If we can actually balance this and zero it out. Looks like it is zeroed out. Oh, she is a big girl. Let's see if we can keep her in the tub and weigh her at the same time and get an accurate weight on this girl. She's coming in at 3,886 grams. That girl is a beast. All right, so this girl is 100% het caramel albino. As a matter of fact, I bought this one at the same time that I bought my biggest snake in my entire collection over on Morphmarket. I think I paid like $300 for the pair of them. It was like 150 a piece. And then the shipping, I think the shipping was crazy. It was like 150 bucks or something because these guys weighed so much. And we needed a really monster box to ship them next day air. It was pretty crazy. And let me tell you, if one of these girls lays eggs, it's like, you know, you get like 13 to 15 eggs. Really super big. I don't think this one's quite as big as the other one, but let me tell you, between both of these, as a matter of fact, I bred them both this year, and neither one of them are going. That's like, between two of them, that's like 30 eggs almost, and that is a killer if they actually don't go, which is kind of the bummer. So I'm actually going to get a weight on this girl and see what she is coming in at. Let's see, this is zeroed. And we'll take a look at this girl. She's pretty big. Wow, really big. 3,548 grams. All right, so this albino is probably one of my biggest snakes. Not quite as big as some of those other ones, but she's still pretty hefty. As a matter of fact, I've been giving her the year off, and she's still really super picky, but she has some pretty good body condition. I'm thinking about actually breeding her this fall in about, well, I usually start pairing up in October, and it's like August, so August, September, about 2.5 months I still have before I start pairing up these snakes. So now is really the time to start feeding these guys really good. As a matter of fact, a lot of my snakes are going back on food. If I can actually get them to eat reliably over the next couple months, then I can pair them up. And if they have really good body condition, even if they're a little bit picky, sometimes just pairing them up will kind of stimulate the appetite. But she is really beautiful. She's a really high contrast albino. As a matter of fact, she is from 2010. She's also 10 years old. I can't believe she's 10 years old. That is pretty crazy. I didn't realize I had so many older snakes in my collection. So let's get a weight on this girl and see what she is coming in at. I'm thinking she's probably close to what Bobby weighs, just kind of feeling her right here. Let's see if she's coming in at a pretty close 2,760 grams. So take a look at this girl. She's one of my bigger snakes. She's actually, as a matter of fact, if I was looking at the dates on this one, she is from 2016. So she's only 4 years old, pretty amazing. As a matter of fact, I got this girl as a hatchling. It's amazing. It's been 4 years since I bought this thing. I can't believe how time flies. It's pretty amazing. And she is getting pretty hefty. I bought her and she was super small. She's probably, I don't know, like 200 or 300 grams when I bought her. And she is really, it was kind of funny. Right at the beginning, she was eating like crazy and would always eat. This is actually my Pastel Spider Desert Ghost. So the Desert Ghost is recessive, and then the Pastel's bringing in a lot of yellow, and then the Spider really brings in a lot of pattern. And kind of the cool thing about this is even though it has the Spider, there's actually no head wobble at all. Look at this girl go. She's like on fire. She's been kind of, I don't know what she's doing. She's kind of been acting crazy. Like she just wants to go, go, go every time I pick her up. It's just, sometimes the ball pythons will just sit there, and then it's really unusual that you'll have one that'll just really want to take off and just kind of crawl all over the place all the time like that. This one's coming in at 2,535 grams. All right, so I kind of wanted to get a weight on this girl. This girl just laid eggs, and then she ate 3 rodents after she laid eggs, so she's gaining a little bit of weight back, still a little bit slow to go. You know, usually after they lay eggs, sometimes they can be really picky until they kind of get over that initial egg laying. Sometimes they can get stuck on a really long fast after egg laying. This girl is 7 years old. She is a calico pastel, and we just found out this year she's 100% het desert ghost. I actually produced a visual desert ghost from this girl. Pretty awesome, and she's kind of taming down a little bit. You know, some of these snakes are kind of wild, not used to really being handled that much. And then the more I handle them on camera, it seems like the more they really calm down. It's kind of funny. It's kind of like, you know, working with them every single day here in my snake studio on the camera, and it really calms them down. So let's see how much this one weighs. I'm thinking about maybe 2,700 grams or something like that. Let's take a look. She's coming in at 2798. right about 2,800 grams. All right, so I'm going to throw in this beautiful normal right at the end. Just a normal, no other genes in the mix. I actually bought this as part of a collection that kind of boosted my production right at the beginning. I bought a collection, I think it was like 8 or 9 females. And the kind of the weird story about that is I bought a whole bunch of females that were mature adults. Some guy was raising them up to breed them, never bred them, and at 3 years old, he sold me all of his females. And I actually put them up in my rack, and I started moving Bobby through all those females. Come to find out, one of them was actually a male. He didn't, you know, properly figure out if it was a male or female. And the weird thing was, I put Bobby up in there, and I started working around the room here, doing some stuff, and all of a sudden I hear this, some banging and shaking. I looked over there, and almost like the whole rack was shaking, and it was Bobby, you know, kind of sparring with one of my males. As a matter of fact, I don't have that male anymore. I actually sold it. It was like a big normal male that was supposed to be a female, and I paid like the price of a female, and which is quite a bit more than just like a normal male. A lot of people just use normal males as pets and not really as breeders for the most part. So this girl, she's probably, I'm thinking this one's maybe right over 3,000 grams. She is a pretty big girl. So I'll take a weight on her. I'm getting kind of good with these weights here. Oh, I was wrong. This is 2,827 grams. All right, so there you have it. Those are some of my biggest ball pythons here in my collection. As a matter of fact, Bobby is pretty big, pretty respectable size for a male. It's pretty amazing. And a lot of people say that, you know, for females, usually you should have at least 2 years on them before you breed them. And it seems like pretty much from what I'm seeing, the best time to breed snakes is between 5 and 10 years. You get some really big clutches, really big ball pythons. And to really see, you know, kind of the ultimate potential of a ball python, especially if you're shopping for enclosures and you see some really big ball pythons, let me tell you, it can completely change your mind about, you know, the kind of the enclosure and the setup you have. A lot of times you'll buy a little hatchling and you think, yeah, it's not going to get that big, and then you keep upgrading and upgrading, and up to the point where some of those big females are actually in the ARS 8018 tubs, which is generally bigger than most of the tubs. And most people use like a 70 series tubs. You can actually go over to ARS Caging and kind of look at the dimensions on those, but you know, some of those big girls really need a real really big enclosure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave you with one of the things I was working on all morning. It was kind of scary. I thought I was going to lose all my chickens and ducks from a predator. A predator actually got in with the cows in my barnyard area, and luckily I actually found the hole in the fence and fixed it before I lost any of my chickens. That was kind of scary, and I was kind of freaking out this morning. I saw that hole and I thought for sure that, you know, some of my chickens or ducks were going to be gone. Luckily I didn't lose a single bird. So that is pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. So take a look at this. I have all these ducks and chickens that I've been raising up. I'm trying to get them big enough so they can run around this big area in here. And I've been kind of penning them up in here. And I realized I have a chink in the armor. I have a chain link fence all around this that is wired to horse panels. And look at that, everything is so muddy because we've had so much rain. It's kind of crazy. But you know, I always thought this fence was pretty secure over here, and I actually have an electric fence on the outside. And I was doing chores today. I was feeding these cows, cleaning up kind of the mess they've been making. And I came over here and I saw this. Take a look at this. This could have been disastrous for these chickens. Something actually got in here and spread apart the fence right here. I'm glad I caught it because those chickens would not have stood a chance. And this is right where I put the two chain links together with pieces of wire. So probably what I'll do is I'll separate a small piece of chain link and wire it to that. That is kind of crazy. I definitely have to check my fencing here in this little arena. Alright, so here's my low-tech redneck setup. That is the hole right there, and essentially what I did is I took a piece of chain link that was a little bit shorter. I think this chain link, the shorter one here, is probably maybe 20 feet long. It's about, you know, about waist high here. The only problem is something was getting through there, and I also noticed, take a look at this, this is kind of crazy. Whatever was getting in here looks like it was crawling over the top of this fence. You can see it's bent over a little bit, and then it looks like the little pine tree right there is kind of like chewed off. So I guess my next step is to go through and cut down all those little pine trees all along the fence. This is kind of crazy. We have all kinds of stuff up here. I'm thinking maybe a raccoon, or we actually have mountain lions and bears and bobcats and a whole bunch of stuff. Hawks in the air and eagles. It is pretty crazy up here. Alright, so it looks like I'm pretty clear all the way up and down this fence, and I actually have one of the biggest chargers on this electric fence. If something actually hits that yellow wire, they get knocked to the ground, let me tell you. As a matter of fact, that yellow wire actually hit me in the neck once. It felt like someone hit me with a baseball bat. It's pretty crazy.